It's not even winter yet. And some parts of our areas are getting flurries tonight. Our weather experts are looking ahead to what real winter might bring. Chief Meteorologist Travis Meyer explains why this season could bring more extreme weather.
This year, our state has felt dramatic swings in the weather. Remember February? Our area saw as much snow in that month as Tulsa usually sees in a year. April and May brought devastating flooding that threatened people and livestock. That in turn caused area lakes to be extremely high levels right on through May. And then came the extreme heat and the horrible drought for the summer that went into the fall for 5 straight months, with Tulsa having 27 100-degree days compared to a normal of 11. Those dramatic swings in the weather are thanks in part to the La Nina pattern. It's characterized by colder than normal water temperatures in the equatorial South Pacific, but it can have a big impact on conditions right here in Oklahoma. While La Nina usually affects our weather once every 4 or 5 years, this is the 3rd year in a row for this pattern.
So could this triple dip La Nina mean extreme winter weather? The short answer is yes. It is going to be probably a winter of extremes. And we really haven't had that many triple dip La Ninas. That doesn't mean it's 3 times as strong. It just means that it's happening for basically 3 winters in a row. And we haven't seen that very often. We had it in the 1970s, had it around 2000, and now again here as we go from 2021 and through 2023. And several of these winters haven't had a ton of snow, but they have had radical weather in terms of temperatures. And La Nina, it's still strong enough that it's going to be influencing our weather this winter because we're still staying well below what should be considered normal. And what is kind of the impact of that? Well, it can be really strange. This past year, February had all of our snow. We had 10 inches of snow in February. That basically is a whole winter's snow. And then all of a sudden we went into flooding situations, and then we went to drought and a heat wave that we haven't wanted to see for a long time, but it was comparable to some things that happened like back in 2011. So we don't want to see that happen, and the good news is La Nina is expected to die down in the spring into the summer. We'd go into what's called a neutral phase where it's not really La Nina or El Nino, but there is a chance that El Nino could actually start to show up, and usually that's a little bit more in the way of wet, which could lead to some additional storms at times. So what we really look at is sea surface temperatures, and we're looking at a very small area, basically between Australia and South America, just to the south of North America, in this area of the Pacific, and temperatures continue to be very cool to cold, and that means that that's going to be a driving influence. Also a driving influence is a polar ice cap, and that is well below normal. In September, the minimum extent of the ice was much more in terms of lower than it should be, because that's the normal extent of the winter, or I should say the summer ice. So we're going to be talking about that and how that influences the weather. And part of that is because of the jet stream. So initially, without a whole lot of ice up north, that will be making our jet stream flow a little bit differently, but we'll still have gusty north winds with big cold fronts and Arctic air coming in. And occasionally we'll be watching for the timing of these storms, because if they coincide, that's when we'll get our big storms. So far, it hasn't been a year of big storms. We haven't had a whole lot of rain across the area. And these areas of rain, we've just had seldom opportunities for really storms, and we've had a little bit more active pattern here just in the last week or two. But overall, La Nina gives us more of a jet stream that flows from the north to the southeast. That makes it big swings around here. Also, precipitation is usually just north and east of us better, but normally we're fairly dry. So what is our winter forecast? Well, it looks almost like a typical La Nina. We're expecting big swings in the weather. We're also expecting most of the moisture to be further east, but it just takes a couple of storm systems to make a big difference. So we'll see how that plays out, but the good news is there is a chance. In the meantime, our winter outlook for temperatures and precipitation are basically going to be a little bit drier than normal, and it looks like our temperatures are going to be mild, but then big swings to really, really cold. And probably the most important thing for a lot of folks basically is like, hey, is it going to snow? Is it going to rain? What's going to happen? And our winter forecast is for temperatures to overall average just a little bit below normal, similar to what we just went through this past winter. Precipitation, we're looking at it to be near normal and maybe just a little bit above, especially here in eastern Oklahoma. And then the biggest thing by far and away is the snow impact, because the snow is the most important thing for kids, and we're looking at normal snows of 8.7. We expect that to be a little bit above normal. Ice is not nice. There could be 1, maybe 2 that could really influence our weather. So that is a look at your winter forecast for 2022-2023.